Another week in the markets closed, guys. It is the weekly review video, so let's dive into things. We got a lot of stocks to cover. We're going to cover the SPY, the QQQs, what's going on in the markets, what we need to be paying attention to, and some stocks that are worth keeping an eye on. So let's hop into things quickly. Before I get there, guys, I have a Patreon. I would really love to get Trading Views or whatever it's called, their paid version. So if someone wants to support this channel, if you've made $5, $10 from the videos I've made, supporting this would be amazing. I appreciate it, guys. I'm doing something really special right now. I have yet to do this, but I'm just going to start showing you guys. These are my holdings. So overall, I'm going to do it quick so you can't look at everything. I guess you can just pause it. But we're still doing pretty good in the portfolio. We have a couple flats. AMD's our really only negative stock currently. Closed a couple positions this week, opened a couple new ones. So overall, portfolio's still doing pretty good. We bought some stocks on the pullback. So we're still in a good place. And we're going to continue to buy more if the market pulls back more, but we'll get into that. Going into the markets, I think the biggest headline from the week was just at the jobs numbers. People are waiting for the jobs numbers. You know, are we going to hit estimates? Are things going to fall off? You know, like what's going to happen? And so unemployment basically didn't rise anything. 4 to 4.1 is not much. Job estimates did come under a little bit. And so you saw the market crash early on Friday and then buy its way back. I think what is going to start happening is the market is going to get used to, well, the market has to get used to the Trump economy, right? Like we know he's drastic. He likes to go a master negotiator, you know, that's up for debate. But we know that he makes these drastic comments that drive the markets insane. So I think the market's been trying to price in some fear, but I think in the long term, nothing has changed yet. We're still in a healthy long-term bull cycle. I think we are transitioning to the last phase. But that just means on these pullbacks, unless something really breaks and we see something that breaks in the charts, this is still an opportunity to go long. Doesn't mean we're at the bottom of this pullback, but still an opportunity to go long. I want to highlight fear greed index. We're still just in extreme fear. You know, we bottomed at about 19. Now we're at 20. Not much has changed. Something I want to dive in specifically here that I think is a really important metric that not enough people talk about is the put call ratio. So we're at a 0.83 right now. This can go a lot higher. I thought this would go a little bit more before before the market kind of reversed a bit. Doesn't mean the reversal is going to continue, but that's why you always buy when things start to show oversold-ish conditions, because you can never time the bottom. But we are getting to this range that we don't get to very often, right? Like what happened in September, what happened in August, what happened in April. Let's see. August, April. Guys, things go extreme fear, and the put and call ratio starts to increase when the market is towards its turnaround point. The market does not continue to go down at these points. That's not how it works. The market is at an all-time high when people are too excited about things. When we hit a top and we were still in like the fear range, that shows that this market is not ready to rug pull everybody, in my opinion. But could we have some more downside? We'll look at the charts. But this is something, guys. If there's two things you need to look at, I say put and call is the most important. And the second thing is the fear and greed index. These two things will help you, I don't want to say time the market, but understand, are retailers bearish? Are they bullish? And then where are the big hedge funds? Are they bearish? Are they bullish? I've seen a lot of channels talking about the AAII, where we'll be in the next 6 months. I think this is almost worthless now. You do see some similarities between the fear and greed index, but I just feel with a Trump economy and the left hating him so much that this is going to continue to be very bearish. I don't think that's going to change. I think obviously people get a little bit more excited when some things, deregulation happens and such, but we're just going to see this whipsaw. And so I don't think this as great of a sign as it used to be in past administrations. And that's why, again, I point to put call ratio. What is this looking like? Are we getting towards a 1? If we are, let's look at the technicals of the chart and see if it confirms what we're seeing on the put and call. Let's hop into things. Again, please support the channel. I don't know what that's about. Please support the channel, guys. Subscribe. I make these videos. I ask y'all through the week like what you want me to cover. And so when you subscribe and you leave a comment, Dylan, please talk about this stock, I will do it on these weekly videos. So these videos are for you. I'm just sharing you the years of experience I have. SPY. Again, guys, if you've been watching the videos, we've been making these for a few weeks now. I set up here. Guys, watch for this top starting to form. This is starting to get a little shady up here. We need to pay attention. This might become a bit of an issue area. What's going on here? This might become a bit of an issue area. And if it is, we're going to see a bit of a sell-off. And look what we've come really close to. We haven't hit it yet, but on the weekly chart, we are very close to the 50-day. And what did we see today? We saw a big reversal this week, but today we saw a big reversal. These long wicks at the bottom can sometimes be a positive thing, but we do still have a bit of negative momentum in the market. So we're gonna have to keep just a close eye on, how things are trending. I would say, what's going on here, guys? Let me refresh this. We are still, things are appearing that were not there before. We are still in, all right, like this is still downtrending. Nothing has changed. So just so that we're all on the same page, nothing has changed, guys. We're still there. If you're watching my shorts, I literally made a short on Monday. I said, if we cannot break above, I believe it was the 50. Let's see if the 50 is closer. Yeah. If we cannot break above the 50, guys, look what happened up here. Bounce, 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 bounce. If we cannot break above 50, we're going to sell off. And guess what happened? We sold off. And guess what Chill Dill done in here? He added into some high value stocks. Why? One RSI on the daily is getting really low. We're not oversold yet, so I still have a question mark. Could we go lower, right? Like I've said this over and over again, but I really like when RSI gets oversold. It tells me that people are getting really scared. People are selling out. So we haven't did that, which is a little bit of a question mark. But we are hitting some really important support here. If we go back in the past, I'll call this 566. I believe the 50-day on the weekly was at 563, so $2 off. But we're hitting some really important support in this range. Like we bounced off it. We'll see if it comes down next week. But in the short term, we do need to see a trend change here if it is over. So what is a trend change, you might ask? We need it to break back above, comes down, higher low, higher low, higher low. That's a trend change. I would say these lines are pretty insignificant, honestly. But if we are looking for some price zones to get back above, getting back above 575, let's put these on the chart for next week. 575, we definitely have to get above. We also see it's where that candle's at. And then I think after that, honestly, it's just back above 580. 580 was a really important part. The stock was fighting here all week. And when it broke below, it really flushed quite a bit. And so I do feel like a lot of people got flushed out of the market. And when people get flushed out of the market, that often does signal a potential reversal case. To the point again, we could also see this, right? Coming up and then failing back lower. That is also always a scenario. So what we want to pay attention to is, does it go like this? Boop. Or does it go like this? And a lower low. Those are the things you want to pay attention to. I would say 580 is a really important price to break above. If it does break above that for some reason, about 585 is a second trigger point. If it hits that, comes back down lower, and we see a lot of negative sentiment in the market, then it could still go lower. Qs. Now the Qs is a really fun one because I did this little dribble yesterday, or last week, sorry. And look what happened, guys. The stock was here last week. We said watch for it to come up, which it did. Let's make this even more interesting. Let's go on the daily. I said watch for this See this guy, this is why I'm asking for you guys to support the channel so I can get the paid version of Trading Views. But what did I say? I said it's not showing me on the weekly, but the daily chart. But I said watch it come back above. Look what it did this week. It went back and broke back lower. And so to the point I was making on the weekly chart. Oh, I got rid of my beautiful diagram. How sad. Oh, this is this thing. Okay, it's freaking out on me, guys. It came back down. See, this is what I'm saying. This is why we need the paid version, guys. It didn't go that high, but it came down here, could not break, and look where it came back down. And so this is what we're going to want to see the next week. Does it come back up, hit this range, and come back even lower? And this little thing that we wrote, this little pie chart that we drew last week, is it still going to go lower? That's what we have to pay attention to. But now that we're lowered, let's draw some important support and resistances. Okay, so we are below this back here. So I would say this around 500 is now a very important level. We can see in the past it could not break above. 500 is extremely important. A little bit closer to where we are. We are going to say about 93, which we're pretty close to, isn't important. So look for those two zones next week. Again, if we can get a back above, right? Like for example, if we can get above this, come back down and hit it, break above, hit that zone, come back down and hit this zone, we're establishing new lower highs, higher lows. If we come up, hit this, just say in this range, and then start seeing a lot of negative momentum through those trigger points, right? Like support and resistance is just supply. So if we hit a supply zone and there's not enough buying pressure, it gets rejected. And so that's why we need to pay attention to these lines, because it shows us where the supply is. And we need more new supply to take out the old supply, the bag holders. Let's get into some actual stocks now. Okay, what do you guys want me to fill out? I am a non-professional trader. Look at this. No, I don't want that. Again, guys, support the channel so I can get the paid version. We're going to look at the semiconductor ETF. Why? Because I'm super bullish on semis, but they are showing a lot of weakness, which is a little bit concerning. I will say myself. Let's go to readjust this to the 100. Guys, this thing is not working with me right now. The SMAs are not adjusting. Someone's trying to destroy my video. I think that's what's happening. So we're gonna have to reload this because now it's on the SPY. I think they're realizing that I'm using their platform how they don't want me to. I think that's what's going on. We might just have to buy this. We'll see. But let's go to the weekly chart because I think the weekly is really important. We have the 100-day starting to accelerate higher up. And what do we also have? We have this trend line. We see the trend line and the 100-day and significant supply range all colliding. When I see a lot of things start to collide and go close together, often the price tag is just urging to get there. Why? Because if this is still in a bullish phase, these bag holders are going to sell to the big institutions, and the institutions are going to get a bigger discount. So often when we see a lot of things come together, that can often mean that that is a big trigger or a big zone to come back and test and eat past supply. So that's still in the lookout for us. I think it's really positive, though, that we came back down to this lower range. And obviously we see that big candle go higher. We got some great news from AVGO about seeing a lot of demand in the market. There's some mixed results on like our chip buying slowing down in the entire world. In the US, we know it's going crazy, but overall in the whole world, are we starting to see a little downtick? That's gonna be really important for anything semiconductor related, anything AI related, mostly on the hardware side. We've talked in past videos how I believe we still have more demand over the next 2 years for the hardware side, but we're going to continue to see the momentum into software, and that's why we are positioning our portfolio with software-related AI companies, Uber, Lyft, Google, Amazon. These are the guys who are going to benefit, who already have the infrastructure and scale, who are investing heavily into it, who are most likely going to take the lead. until we see costs come down significantly. These guys are really trying to get the lead. So this 200-ish zone is really what we want to pay attention to here. I think it's up at 202 now, and I would hope this still accelerate. Even if this thing goes sideways for a bit and then comes down here towards this zone, hits the 100-day, and then starts this uptrend again. What's really bullish about this taking a break is we have these long-term trend lines all the way from the end of the last bear market. And now it's starting to catch up. Obviously, we broke below this one, which I don't love. But we still have this more, I would say, relevant support because we have this little point that it hit off back here. And so I honestly like that this is going sideways. Accumulation, potentially a lot of buying. And if it comes, hits this, guys, it's a beautiful little worm creeping up. So that's what we want to take a look at. Again, I'm still very bullish on hardware. I still think that there's so much demand out there, but I would say probably starting in about a year, we're going to see the acceleration of AI really take place in software more with robotics, automation. Companies will continue to fire because they found more efficient ways, which will increase margins. That's why software is going to win in the long term here. Next stock. That this thing is continuing. No, I don't. Guys, look at this. Non-professional account, $12 a month. Two people support me, and we can all look at this without Dylan having to go back and forth. AMD stock. Okay, AMD, I'm a bit of a, not a bag holder. I'm like down 10%, which isn't the end of the day. But really what we want to see with AMD is this guy seriously needs to get above the 20-day. Every time the past hits the 20-day, hits the 20-day, hits the 20, hit 20, hit 20. And now we've accelerated away from the 20-day. RSI is oversold. And so next time this comes up and hits a 20-day, we need to break the 20-day. We need to break this long-term downtrend now, right? All the way from October of last year. And we honestly want this to go sideways a bit. Like in a perfect world, we'll get back above 110. 110, I believe, is a really, really big support. Obviously, we have huge support from, I call it 90 to 100, but I really want this to get back above 110 because then we don't have to deal with all this back supply here. And I think it's out. What did I just do? It's a lot more bullish. Okay, I just shifted the chart somehow. TradingView is not working with us today, guys. Anyway, that's what we want to see. And so that's around 105. If we see the market turn around here, I think AMD will with it. We are seeing AMD just follow NVIDIA right now, which is kind of a pain. But I do think those will start to kind of pull away from each other just because I think NVIDIA is so overvalued even with their growth, where AMD is starting to try to catch up to where it should be actually valued in long-term trend lines, which we can see and we've been covering every week. Next stock. Let me just close out some of these. So hopefully it starts working with me here. No, I do not want an account. Understand it, guys. I'm no longer getting away. Nike stock. I'm a long-term Nike holder. This is one of the few brands that everybody knows and loves. It's not going anywhere. They have to do a turnaround. That's just the facts. I think we are seeing the consumer slow down a bit. But what we have seen in the last couple of years, we've seen these premium shoe brands come out, Allbirds, whatever that other brand is called in the running space. And they're selling shoes for $150, $175, $200, where Nike's prices are that $80 to $120. And so I think as the consumer softens, they're going to stop buying those premium shoes and they're going to navigate more towards Nike as marketing fixes their innovation and their marketing. And so we are testing the 50-day, which is really good to see. The last times we hit the 50-day, we're above the 20-day. So the 20-day is at about 76, and the 50-day is at about 81. So I would love this to break above the 50-day. Honestly, get above this nasty range here. Obviously, in the past, we see that. We see a big difference between being below 90 and above 90. It's like night and day difference. And so I want to get back in this zone. All these buyers down here, switch this higher low, right? Like we've been in these higher lows. And let's reverse this. Let's hit up to 90, maybe come back to the 80, 85 range, and then let's start a new uptrend. So I'm really bullish on Nike long term. If this breaks down any further than it did at 68, I mean, I bought more down there. If it goes 60, 65, like I'll be buying some more shares because, again, I'm very bullish on Nike. Him stock. Guess what, guys? I do not want the premium account. Anyway, HIMS, obviously. We covered the stock last week. I made shorts, guys. Watch the shorts. They're so helpful. We said, watch for the 40. I do not believe this stock is getting, above 46. What did we see happen? It came up, test, failed to the downside. Obviously, the market being red helped. But what you have to realize about HIMS, if you love this stock or you're holding it, stocks is still up over 100% in the last year. It's like 120%. Guys, stocks do not typically go up 120% in the market. Obviously, it's a small cap. Those things are more realistic for smaller companies. But even for smaller companies, this is extremely unrealistic. Guys, the stock needs to chill out. I honestly think that the GLP-1 news and these providers going e-commerce and cutting the prices is going to impact their weight loss business. They have pills that they do for weight loss, but the shots are the things that people are really grabbing towards in this weight loss kind of 2.0 wave that we're in. And so we broke below the trend line. We have big support around 31. I will start to get more interested in this around 30 to 25 to 30, mostly because I see this trend line here. Right, we see the 200-day is still pretty flat. I think if this starts accelerating upwards, that's a little bit more bullish. We have the 100-day around this $30. So I really wanted to come back to earth a little bit. I think the stock is still going to have amazing growth. It's not going to grow 100%. Let me keep it a buck with you. But I think 50, 60, 70% growth still makes this an amazing investment, especially now that they're profitable and printing a lot of money. I do think their costs are going to go up substantially with acquisitions that they've been doing this year, but they still will be profitable and they'll be reinvesting that to grow the business. Uber stock. No, I don't want a 30-day free trial, guys. Uber stock, super long, as I just mentioned, with AI, with the wave happening. This is a long-term hold and win, guys. Unless something really, really negative happens here. I made a long video on this. Go watch a long video. That's going to be really helpful to understand the state of Uber and why I'm so bullish. But like I said, I made a video last week. I said, watch for a pullback to the 70s-ish range. Guys, it went back to 71. You had your first opportunity to buy on this dip. Now that this stock is back in this, I will call it more optimistic top range, it's staying above the 100-day. I think it's a low probability that it breaks below 70, unless some really bad news comes out about innovation or losing an important partner. You know, they're now partnered with Waymo. They launched in Austin, Texas. They're going to continue to expand. This is a long-term winner, guys. It's just very obvious because they own the space. The fears of Tesla are coming down. The fears of Waymo are coming down. And these guys are positioned in the perfect space to win. So from here, if we get more redness, if we see some more negative in the market, I want to see, you know, that 100-day test showing that we're still feeling really bullish about this stock. In the worst case scenario, it comes down to around 70, 69, and then breaks back above. We have this unreliable trend line here, but like I mentioned last, we have this blue uptrend area that we're now kind of reestablishing. And so as long as I see movement in there, maybe eventually it comes down in the future. But I'm still very bullish on the stock. If for a reason this stock would break below 60, I would probably sell. That was my buy price, just because there's a really big gap below 60, you know, down to 55 or all the way down to 50. And then I would reaccumulate back in this, you know, 45 range that we see back here. That is very, very unrealistic, just to let you guys know. But in a worst case scenario, that's what I would do. LYFT stock. And guess what, guys? No, I don't want premium. I'm going to drop some bars here. I did buy LYFT. I'm very bullish, like I said, on AV, autonomous. These guys have partnerships in the space too. Their stock will move as Ubers go up, okay? Uber goes up, they'll go up. It's just the reality. They are still in a sideways trading zone. There's not much of a story here currently, but this is just a long-term hold for me. Again, like if for some reason I really start to see some negative selling down below 11, or for some reason really bad news came out and went below, you know, $9, and I would really have to consider selling. But otherwise, I think risk to reward here in the long term with AI, with all the innovation happening, this is a no-brainer. I wouldn't say a no-brainer. There's a lot of risk with this stock, so that everybody knows. There's nothing that says this stock is ready to turn over, but I'm betting on the long term that a autonomous will continue to grow significantly over the next 5 years, and Lyft will be a very small player, but they will benefit from that rise. They're a profitable company. I made a long-term video on this. Go watch that. Premium credits. PayPal. Okay, PayPal's a stock's really interesting. So I'm going to make a long-form video on this probably this week or next week, but I think PayPal is a very misunderstood company. They have new management, new CEO that is really starting to try to work on making the business work better together. This business for really long was segmented, and so now they're working on making all the business work together. I think this is going to create immense efficiency, and we are just in the digital age. PayPal is a stock you would own because you believe millennials are becoming a dominant player in the economy. If you believe that, digital transactions, PayPal will continue to be a backbone in this space. There are competitors that have come in the last few years, but PayPal, I would say they have a moat but they have a really strong positioning. And so this week we saw it break below the 100-day, which is exactly what I told you guys. I told watch for the break of the 100-day. We came back above, and now we're above. Next thing is I really want this to stay above 68. I do not want it in this lower range. This lower range is extremely bearish to me, because if it breaks below 68, it's just, I just moved that on accident. If this goes below 68, then this thing is going to go sideways for quite a while, and that's not what we want. We don't want this to go sideways for quite a while. How did I move this? Let's move this thing back somehow. There we go. This thing will go sideways for a while. That's not what we want. So keep above 68 because that's the 100-day. And then hopefully we can start to see, even at some consolidation. I'm not mad with consolidation. I don't believe the valuation is too far off for this fair value today. But I'm very optimistic about management, which I think is a big win for me for stocks. And if management can continue to make the right moves, then this company will become more profitable. They're buying back shares. Their revenue growth will still be around that 8 to 10% range. But if their operating income continues to increase, if they can work on their margins, then this company is undervalued. Meta. Somebody asked for me to cover this, so let's cover it. Meta long-term uptrend. That's just the reality. Since the bear market, this stock has exploded from $100. We are now at $625. Meta just owns advertising now. Google has shown, I think they might be losing a little bit of their search. As adopted players, people use AI more, but social is not going anywhere for advertising. As AI takes over, as it's easier to create really compelling advertising, Meta will be the winner. I would say something to look out for is TikTok. TikTok news is going to be coming out in the next month or so of like, did they find someone to partner with them to stay in the US? If they say they stay in the US, I do see a bit of green coming for Meta because TikTok was growing substantially and taking market share. And if they can get the rights to go in the US, they're going to continue as a competitor for Meta, and I do think it will hurt some of their long-term revenue growth. But Meta is the winner. Their valuation is healthy, honestly pretty undervalued unless their revenue slows. So we really want to pay attention. Is Meta's revenue slowing? Is the consumer slowing? Are people spending less on ads? Don't believe that's happening yet because I live in the marketing space, but those are things we want to pay attention to. Putting some things on the chart here. Let me update this so we can actually appropriately do this. This is a long ass video today, guys. But you know what? Long videos are fun. But everything's in an uptrend. Like, that's just what it is. I would like this to sometime come back to the 100-day or the 50-day at the minimum, just because when stocks stay away from their 50 or 100-day too long, I start to get a little nervous. 20-day is like, it shows you, let me just show you real quick on the 20-day. We're getting some deep education, 25 minutes, 30 minutes into the video. The 20-day acts as a barometer. Above the 20-day is bullish, below the 20-day is bearish. The 50-day is something I like stocks to come back and test. And so this, not testing this since March 23, a year ago, like I want this guy to come back and test it. So that's what I'm looking for, is honestly a test of the 50 at some point soon. I think we have a big support around 543. But obviously we hit big support on the pullback at 6. So honestly would like this to come back a little bit more to say, okay, this thing is reset a bit. Let's see if it holds the 50 and accelerates back up above the 20. Because let's see, I don't know if we broke below the 20 here. See, we dipped below the 20 back above. So again, if this thing stays above the 20, then we're going to just continue the bullish momentum upwards. So look for the 20-day as a barometer. If we break below the 20-day next week, test it, and they keep going lower, look for the 50-day. But this thing, honestly, nothing looks wrong with this stock right now. Last one. This is another stock that somebody asked for. This is oil. What's going on? This is oil name. I'm going to give a macro picture on oil. So we know that Trump is trying to get gas prices lower, oil prices lower. This is going to impact the price, just the reality. But what we're also doing is we're relying less on oil from other countries and we're using our own oil more. So now you have this balancing act. Cutting off more international supply and using more of our own and exporting more of that our own. Does that increase the price because we're doing less demand? You know, like we have less to play with at a maybe more expensive price? Or do we just flood the market and oil prices keep going lower? If oil prices keep going lower, I would say this puts more negativity on this stock, maybe towards this, 92, and then I could say even coming back to 80. But what we want to keep track of over the next year or two is as data centers say, we're continuing to build data centers, we're building these factories, we're going to need an insane amount of energy. And so that's the bullish case for oil, is once this oil price starts to pull back, maybe it normalizes, I think maybe like down around $50 a barrel or $40 or something, start to normalize there and stay sideways, that's where I would become more bullish on oil, gas, energy type names, because price is normalized and then we're going to see demand spike and we're using more US oil versus importing. And that could put a lot of positive pressure on these producers. So those are things to look at for oil. Besides that, not a ton more analysis. If you're still watching the video, you are an absolute real one. 32 minutes is absolutely insane, guys. But that's our video for the week. I hope you got something of value out of that. Again, support the channel would be amazing. But until next week, I'm going to try to do 2 videos a week. We'll see. I've been a busy bee lately. Until next time, guys, let's win this market together.